ufology about the existence of a committee of elite military leaders, government officials, and scientists tasked with the investigation, study, and collection of UFOs and their occupants. This now infamous group was revealed through hundreds of allegedly leaked documents over the course of 1984 to 1999 to be titled the Majestic 12 or MJ-12. Any viewer of my work will know I often reference the Majestic documents in MJ-12, such as my Del Rio case where I bring up the Majestic document called the Eisenhower Briefing Document, in which I reference a December 1950 UFO crash retrieval stated to have occurred near the Mexican-Texas border between El Indio and Guerrero.
The conspiracy. What do we mean by the conspiracy? Well, this is kind of what we mean. We mean these motherfuckers. It seems like they're a big part of it. They're like maybe the highest operational level of the conspiracy. I don't think we really know, or at least no one knows or says they know much more than that. You can trace these guys to lots of things. The Majestic 12. There's kind of all the rich people and scientists that went to Antarctica. But still, there's umpteen whatever companies involved in it also. And a lot of them are kind of like traced back to these guys, the Majestic 12 dudes, and their exponents. People came after them. The companies that they went to go found, associations, boards. This had a pretty deep links in the chum bucket. We have Antarctica, we have Kenneth Arnold, flying saucers. We have Roswell, and we have Majestic 12. Right before Majestic 12, you have OSS kind of splintering off into CIA, rebranding itself, I guess. There's also NASA and NRO. NASA/NRO. Those series of events lead to the kind of like modern group that is now the conspiracy. But it's way fucking later now. Almost everything that we're going to see in any of these videos is decades old. And so even this kind of like mythology of the origins of the conspiracy, kind of suspect in a way. Like in a big way. But still, if the government calls it fake, maybe it's not fake. After Roswell, there's all sorts of crash retrievals. Dr. Robert Sarbacher. Sarbacher was heading up a program to create missiles to track UFOs, and they weren't supposed to even necessarily shoot them down. They were just supposed to go and take pictures of them with cameras on and track them, and get up next to them, because planes couldn't at the time. So the conspiracy is the motherfuckers who are in charge of almost everything, who got access to the UFOs 100 years ago and have been basically keeping it secret ever since. And they've done that by creating a cover-up. The cover-up consists of mostly people who don't really know, aren't really in on any of the details of the conspiracy, and some people who do know some things because they deal with them directly, mostly is why. And this is generations and generations, it's decades and decades, it's 100 years, basically. And they've gotten good at all the things that they've done. They've set up an underground military base and research facility base network across the country with connecting maglev tunnels under the guise of all sorts of things like continuity of government programs that were both proposed and accepted and denied, but still done on accident or with black project funding. They've been able to keep it mostly secret because they paid people really well. They punished people really harshly, like killing them. But then most of the public side of stuff has been managed with giggles, you know, making fun of people, the stigma, laughing at it. And then there's been this kind of like this 2-part, you know, final thing, which has been disclosure. They've been telling us, right? They've been letting everyone tell us. They've been telling us since X-Files and E.T., Men in Black, you name it. And when they were telling us, they were saying, this is not real. That's the thing that people do when they actually are showing you the real thing, but they want you to know that it's not real. And they're gonna psyop on you. So that's what they've been doing. They've been doing a psyop. The conspiracy has been surrounding itself in the cover-up. It's been working. Right? They're rich, their children are rich, their children's children are rich. It's now so generational in so many different ways and layers that there's probably no way to really find it or root it out in any reasonable manner at this point. And most of the people don't even know that they're in on it because they're not in on it. So I don't know who they are, and I think in most cases, or a lot of cases, at least according to ufology canon, the people in the conspiracy at this point, 80 to 100 years later, have a lot in common with some elements of the phenomenon. They're related to them, they're kin, they're hybrids. Mom was an alien, etc. So there's that part also. So the Majestic 12 is kind of the start. As these guys kind of die off or retire or whatever, they get replaced by another dude that the president kind of puts in there, I guess. Not all the presidents seem to be involved according to the documents and, you know, kind of like the opinion of ufology as a whole, sort of. But a lot have. A lot of these guys, or their elements that are created after them, because this was a long time ago, don't necessarily work in cahoots with each other purposely. So there's a Air Force UFO program, there's a Navy UFO program, there's an Army UFO program, there's a CIA UFO program, there's Lockheed's UFO program, all the other peoples, they all have their own UFO programs. Some of them are alien programs, some of them are UFO programs. And now it's a long time later and nobody knows any of all the other little parts. They only know about their little part barely. Only the parts that they've been like directly involved in. So it's a vast conspiracy that surrounded itself in this, big cloud of mostly good faith, benign conspirators. And then there's people, there's like pilots who've seen stuff, like military pilots who aren't allowed to tell you about it because they've, been told not to and they've taken an oath, etc. Should they tell us? I don't know. Sarbacher and the UFO Crash Retrieval Group, that's still about the Majestic 12, but there's other parts. Not everyone is in the Majestic 12. The Majestic 12 is supposed to be ultra secret. There's other parts that are lower down the ladder that don't even necessarily report up the ladder, like the Department of Energy, that also have their own little tentacles. So there's a lot of parts out there that are involved, including the private corporations and all their little parts. And at some point, they started, kind of telling us, while at the same time laughing at anyone who talked about it. So any of these guys who came out and said, oh, the government studies UFOs, so they'd laugh at them, get them out of their job, and then 40 years later say, oh yeah, that guy was right. Everyone up here was lying, or whatever. That sort of thing. Where it comes to a head is the abductions. The UFOs flying over people's neighborhoods, beaming people up, capturing them out in the national park, scanning them, sexing them, snacking them, whatever, putting some of them back, killing others, keeping some of the other at rest. For whatever reason, the UFO crashes in Brazil, and aliens get out, and taxi driver touches the alien, hospital guy touches the alien, military guy touches the alien, tackles the alien, and all those guys, die of cancer and crazy bacterial infections. And everyone says it stinks of ammonia. Those kinds of things suck for the humans involved that no one is taking care of or believing. So that's why it matters, because, the aliens are eating people, or sexing people, taking people, and the conspiracy is probably in on it, or at least big chunks of the conspiracy are in on it, which makes big old giant chunks of the cover-up in on it, with the aliens who are fucking people up, who are eating them and sexing them. Who knows what they're doing to the cattle? The Davis-Wilson notes are really significant also. There are a lot of evidence of the conspiracy. There are at least a lot of evidence of hard portions of the cover-up. And there's no conspiracy. There's no cover-up without the conspiracy. They're covering up the conspiracy. It's more modern, Davis-Wilson notes, but it's more when you watch through an hour of Davis-Wilson notes, especially a Richard Dolan hour. It's more about the cover-up since the conspiracy was established, which is after Roswell. And then the real heavy abduction flaps in ufology kind of start in the 60s. They seem to kind of go away until very recently. There's been an uptick in alien contact. So the conspiracy, it's the motherfucking guys building the bases everywhere, shooting down UFOs, picking up the crashed UFOs, doing stuff with them. Those guys, which starts 100 years ago with the Majestic 12 and others. And nowadays we have a vast cover-up that doesn't even know other parts of itself, usually. And that's like very recent current events with Congress, quote-unquote Congress, people in Congress, congressmen, who are having other parts of the cover-up. Congress is like a real vital part of the cover-up because they, almost none of them probably have any idea that they're part of the cover-up. There may be a couple of them every now and then, or all the time, I don't know, are actually part of the conspiracy. Probably not anymore, but... So you got someone like Grush running to Congress after he already went to the police of the government, and that didn't work. So then he goes to Congress, and they're listening to him tell them about themselves, basically. You know, it's the conspiracy, the cover-up, talking to itself about the cover-up. And that gets the attention of people like Friedman, and nowadays UAP Gerb. And with Roswell, you know, why did they even come out and say flying saucer in the first place, firstly? But then after that, they turned it into a weather balloon and into crash dummies and into insane people, and they threatened people with death and dishonor. That's incredibly weird behavior for a nothing burger. Check them out. Check out Richard Dolan. Check out UAP Gerb. The one that he's got here, Robert Sarbacher, in the U.S. government's UFO secret crash retrieval group, is only like 22 minutes long. And for UAP Gerb, that means there's like 3 hours of stuff in there, but it's going to only take 22 minutes. So that's a good watch to get acquainted with the basics of at least the origins of the conspiracy, which is all we ever really have. Like, beyond Majestic 12, we never see anything or hear anything, even, you know, fictional. The best we've ever gotten is the little pieces of Podesta. Right? Everything else has been in the movies, on TV. So we have no idea what has gone on since Majestic 12 stuff. And they get this Majestic 12 stuff, the Reagan Presidential Library, and some other guy's estate. When he died, documents were, you know, changed hands, ended up in this guy's hands, basically, or something like that, or his dad's. Doesn't matter. Even saying that, you know, here he is. This is Ryan. That's what he's talking about. His dad's work, on the Reagan Library stuff that was accidentally included or that we found or correlated or however. That's like 30, 40 years ago. And they're talking about something that happened 80, 90 years ago. Stuff that happened 80, 90 years ago. And yeah, some of it is, you know, from the 60s and 70s and 80s. But still. That's kind of where the trail goes cold. The cover-up is not cold. It's actually kind of in your face, especially at certain times. One of those times being right now, being the last couple years and right now. And so the cover-up has come in and kind of introduced itself and reintroduced itself a few times and updated itself. Because you're supposed to, if anything, if you don't believe it, if you don't believe it and you don't care, then you don't believe it and you don't care. But if you do believe it and you do care, then you're supposed to get caught up in the cover-up and never make it to the conspiracy, and that's kind of worked for the most part. Where are the UFOs? Where are the aliens? Where is the smoking man?